Another extremely interesting discovery I recently made came when I finally recognized something that had been hiding for years in plain sight. When looking at the mountains in this region in person or on Google Earth, some of which may also be Titan candidates, there are countless parallel lines that can be seen. At first glance, one might conclude that these lines are the sedimentary layers that we've already discussed, but this is not the case. The lines you see here are actually Moorish agricultural terraces, which were built, according to the official story, back when the Moors were in control of the Iberian Peninsula between the 8th and 15th centuries. These terraces serve many functions, preventing topsoil erosion, capturing water, and providing a home to numerous crops such as almond, olive, and a variety of fruit trees. I was always amazed at the scope of these terraces, but it wasn't until a forest fire a few years ago exposed a section that had been completely covered by vegetation that I finally realized how utterly comprehensive they are. Titan country.
Not a single
Just
person
saw-
here. Oh, hello.
Just saw this cave for the first time today. Curious what that looks like inside.
That's right by the AP7 there. But
Yeah,
so
it's just above the highway.
yeah.
And look at those terraces. Right up to the top.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Even where you don't think they are, they're there. There's a there there.
I mean, every hillside has got those terraces on.
Every single mountain.
Every single mountain or mound or hill. They've utilised the side of it.
And when it burns, it exposes it and you see it. But where the vegetation is, you don't notice it so much. But they literally made this whole region. I wonder how much of the rest of Spain looks like this.
All of it.
They are literally everywhere. Virtually every mountain in this region is covered almost entirely with these terraces. The vast majority of them are no longer even being used. This region is incredibly lush, even today, but it's hard to fathom how it all must have looked during Moorish or Roman times when this region was in its heyday. I believe the Earth was vastly more populated by creatures of all kinds in the ancient world. This would also account for the mind-boggling quantity of petrified organs that I've presented in my videos. In the 13th century, Dante wrote about flocks of birds so great that they could block out the light of the sun. When I lived in Rome, I used to watch the murmuring of the starlings at sunset above the Vatican City. It was an incredible sight to behold. Once, from my 8th floor apartment in Rome, I saw what I can only describe as a river of birds flying by. The river was 50 to 100 birds wide, and it flew by unbroken for several minutes before the last stragglers picked up the tail end. Now imagine a murmuring 100 or 1,000 times larger. Anyway, back to the terraces and how they tie into Titanology. The thing that's important to understand is that the rocks that make up these terraces are all built from the broken fragments of what were once larger continuous pieces of limestone. You can see it here. Notice the different sizes of the holes, which I consider to be vascularity? Many of these pieces have one or more edges that are unbroken. This is what the unbroken limestone looks like. Does it remind you of anything? Come back to this spot that I've wanted to investigate a number of times. So you can see here there's a layer that comes down, and underneath there's a lot of reddish earth in there. And then you can see the same in these areas here. And clearly that could have been deposited by wind or rain or some kind of major flooding. But what I've seen on many occasions is that underneath this stone, when it's broken open, that there are channels going all kinds of different directions that couldn't possibly have been filled by some kind of flow. And I hypothesize that this has a lot more to do with this having once been flesh of different types, blood, bone, perhaps skin. Here you can see some quartz crystal accumulations, which I theorize is petrified blood plasma. Talked about that in detail in the fourth fourth Unveiling a Titan video. So now, given that the terraces stretch across the entire region, try for a moment to imagine how Montgo and the other mountains in the region would have appeared if this sea of limestone had remained unbroken. Would Montgo have looked even more like an elephant? Remember the broken rock I showed with red earth oozing out of the exposed channels? What if the people who broke up the outer layer of limestone did so not only to build the terraces, but also to expose the red earth trapped within? In our bodies, blood is the vehicle by which our nutrients are distributed to our cells. So it'd be safe to say that Titan blood would have provided the terrace builders with extremely fertile soil once exposed. From what I can tell, the exact same materials have been used to build the star forts in this region. The walls and their points are made of solid limestone, or what I consider to be non-vascular cortical bone. The mortar and the filler for the walls appears to be a combination of crushed limestone mixed with the reddish earth, or from a titanology perspective, a mix of Titan blood and bone. Added to that is a scattering of smaller, smooth stones, the petrified organs of smaller creatures mixed in for good measure. Fee, fi, fo, fum. If the Titans truly were once grinding up humans to make their bread, then the payback must have been sweet.